Hello and welcome to Lunchtime Politics, reaching you live from the nation's global headquarters, from the nation's commercial nerve center and our global headquarters here in Lagos. I'm Jeffrey Uzonga, coming up on the program. The bill to further amend the Electoral Act 2022 scales through second reading in the House of Representatives. The proposals to make electronic transmission of results mandatory. Senate postpones security briefing by service chiefs over the absence of the Chief of Defense Staff and the National Security Advisor. The leadership battle of the All Progressives Congress in Benue State continues with the inauguration of the party State Welfare Secretariat as its chairman. We found out the backstory on the program. Thanks again for joining us on the program. We begin the tracking of the polity from the activity of the representatives in the Green Chambers of the National Assembly who are annotating on the Electoral Act as the amendment bill has scaled through second reading. Mr. Francis Wave, who sponsored the bill, is among other things proposing that the general elections be conducted on the same day for better efficiency and to save cost. The amendment also seeks to make electronic transmission of results mandatory and sanction persons who file frivolous petitions with heavy fines to reduce the post-election litigations.
Wednesday's plenary in the House of Representatives begins with a motion of urgent national importance on security in the Federal Capital Territory. Lawmakers are worried about the increased spate of kidnappings in the nation's capital.
They state that since the compulsory registration of and linking of national identification numbers (NIN) by the federal government, there has never been a time it was deployed to tackle or address the pressing and scary state of insecurity in the Federal Capital Territory or the nation at large. Further worried that since criminal elements in and around the Federal Capital Territory are speedily evolving from the norm to advanced techniques of criminality, the security agencies of government ought to urgently move to digitalize their operations to return the Federal Capital Territory to its safest haven.
Next, the House considers a bill to amend the Electoral Act. Sponsor of the bill, Honorable Francis Waive, believes that certain concerns observed from the 2023 general elections must be quickly addressed.
I crave your indulgence to consider another amendment that I propose. In the 2022 Act, the matter of electronic transmission results was not definite. I think that we are the lawmakers. We are the ones that make the law for the country. I think we should not make a law that will be vague, that will be interpreted differently by different courts of law.
In the meantime, the delay in the issuance of national identity cards has caught the attention of lawmakers, prompting an investigation.
What is that the Commission headquarters and its state counterpart have been found to be ineffective in delivering the national assignment to the people, particularly in releasing the national identity card due to the government neglect of operational activities and directive for the benefit of all Nigerians.
Similarly, an investigation is to be carried out by the House Committee on National Agency for Food and Drugs Administration and Control, following the ban by the agency on the production of alcoholic beverages in sachets and small bottles in the country. The Green Chamber is worried that the ban could lead to job losses in the country. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Well, sorry, tonight to take at least 5 more days to hear from the service chiefs on what's been done to reverse the surge of insecurity across the country. That delay was due to the absence of the Chief of Defense Staff and the National Security Advisor during the security briefing at the Senate, as lawmakers led by the President of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, resolved to adjourn the date to February the 13th. More officials in charge of the nation's security architecture were also added to the invite list to ensure a robust conversation.
Anticipation mounts as the Senate resumes plenary on the second legislative day of the week, with the expected arrival of service chiefs to the upper chamber. The worsening state of insecurity in the country has been a major subject of debate among the lawmakers. For this reason, the service chiefs have been summoned for a second time under the 10th Assembly to give explanations. The Senate suspends its rules to admit the service chiefs. The absence of the National Security Advisor and Chief of Defense Staff instantly stalls proceedings.
The security chiefs to have interaction with us, to brief us on the efforts being made to curb this resurgence, and at the same time give us the opportunity to also make our suggestions for the betterment of the country. So please, whilst we welcome you, we want you to know that it is not because of the fact that we are not passing the buck. We are not blaming any of you for anything. We believe you are doing your best. We want to hear from you and also make contributions on how we can improve the situation. So we welcome you, but we are not complete. We would like to have also with you in attendance the Chief of Defense Staff. Is it the view of the Senate? We would like also to have the National Security Advisor in attendance. Is that the view of the Senate? So the clerk of the Senate has directed accordingly that you further invite the National Security Advisor, the Minister of Defense, the Minister of State Defense, the Minister of Police Affairs, the Minister of State Police Affairs, Minister of Interior, Minister of Finance, and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, in addition to the service chiefs who have honored the invitation of the Senate.
The motion to adjourn the security briefing is then moved by the Leader of the Senate, Senator Opeyemi Bamidele.
Is it the view of the Senate that this be moved to Tuesday, the 13th day of February 2023? Those in support say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
The protracted spate of abductions, banditry, armed robbery across the country has in the last few weeks seen an uptick, and the Senate agrees that the FCT is under threat. The lawmakers expect that the postponed interface will yield the desired results to advance development in the country. From the National Assembly, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
Now, in the meantime, the Senate has been giving further reasons why the postponement of the security briefing became expedient. In an interview with our National Assembly correspondent who just reported there, Gloria Umezuke, the Senate spokesperson, Senator Yemi Adaramodu, explains that Nigerians will not take the Senate serious if it took on the matter in segments.
We don't want to be going back and forth anymore because it has reached that tempo whereby we have to get to where we are going in Nigeria. And it is very pertinent to ensure that we don't just see a sect now. 2 days after we now call another sect, Nigerians will not even take us very serious. So definitely it is not a matter of saying that if we invite the head, then the sub will just come and then we just take them and then we'll be waiting for another day. Definitely the National Security Advisor, who is advising the President about the issue of security, who collects every security report and sends such to the President for action, then must be on seat. And not only that, the Chief of the Defense Staff, who is in charge of either the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force, must be there. And definitely, we must bring in the economic team. We must bring in the security team. Then all of us must now sit down together. If it is for us to make laws to ensure that things are done properly and we get result, then we do that. If it is for us to impress it on the executive to make sure that what they are supposed to do, they do it, then we have to get that one. If to tell us that maybe the appropriation that we have been making, maybe we have been wrong on it, then they have to tell us. So what we are going to do, we will not even think of any reprimand unless they are there and we ask questions from them directly. And then after maybe a few days or weeks, and we cannot get the result, then we know what advice to give to the executive about the issues that are going on pertaining to security in Nigeria.
So that's the explanation of the Senate to ensure that they do a proper job in asking questions so they get the right answers on behalf of the people. To other stories now, the governor of Benue State, Mr. Governor Hyacinth Alia, has inaugurated the suspended APC Welfare Secretary, Mr. Benjamin Omakolo, as the new chairman of the party in the state, following the court order restraining Mr. Austin Agada from parading himself as chairman. The inauguration took place during a congress of the party, which held at the Old Banquet Hall in the Benue State Government House. And according to the governor, the appointment is in acting capacity to fill the vacuum created by the court order. Meanwhile, the state publicity secretary of the APC, Dan Ihomun, in a statement on behalf of the state working committee, says Mr. Agada remains the state chairman and the party will resist the move by the government.
Since his suspension was upheld and then the restraining also came in place, it became an honor on me to immediately fill this space, and having done the consultation with a number of stakeholders ranging from Zone C, where the former party chairman hails from, it is more appropriate to have someone coming to act in that capacity from the same zone. And so, Mr. Dear Honorable Benjamin Omakolo, current Welfare Secretary of the State Working Committee, would now take over as interim chairman, pending when all court issues around the suspended chairman are resolved.
I view this elevation as a call to duty, and I'm determined to avail myself as a true servant towards the overriding objective of having one united party, well positioned for future electoral victories. We shall collaborate with relevant organs of our party at all levels to take critical decisions in a well-thought-out consultation to give all members of APC in Benue State their pride as members of a ruling party. Our collaborative engagements with our leaders at the state and national level will herald the era of unprecedented synergy that will bed unity and delivery of democratic dividends to all and sundry.
Now, that is going to be the basis of our conversation, the politics of Benue State. And let me give you a bit of a background to the politics of Benue State and how things have unfolded over time. Now, before the election, in Benue State, what happened was more like a political transposition. What I mean by that is, before the election, the PDP had 3 senators, 10 members of the House of Representatives, while the APC had 1 member of the House of Representatives. So this is what now happened after the election. It was a transposition. The PDP now had 1 member of the senator, 1 representative, and then the APC had 2 senators and 10 members of the House of Representatives. So that's the slide you're saying. It's like a transposition from one majority to another majority. So, but since after this election, things have been happening in the Benue State politics as far as the APC is concerned. First, there were arguments about appointment between factions loyal to the governor and those loyal to the SGF. And then the issue of principal officers to the State House of Assembly, there were issues. And then the recent one was the Guma 1 state constituency by-election that, there was also an issue. One faction or one group, I should say, trying to prevail over the other group. And then the latest one is these 2 gentlemen you're seeing. So that's Austin Agada, who is the suspended chairman, the court order restraining him from parading himself as the chairman of the party in Benue State after he was suspended in his ward. But there are members of the party, State Working Committee that are loyal to him, even local government chairmen that are still loyal to him. And then this is Benjamin Omakolo, who was just inaugurated by the governor, who is now the acting chairman of the party in the APC in Benue State. So that is just a quick snapshot of the politics of Benue State. So since that very big, what you call upset in Benue politics, the APC won the governorship, got majority in the National Assembly, and it was just a great victory for them. But since then, there hasn't been some clear-cut peace. There has been division and grandstanding across loyalty for the governor and the SGF. That's the basis of our conversation. I'm being joined on the program by the Chief of Staff to the Governor, Mr. Paul Biam. Mr. Paul Biam is joining us via Zoom. Mr. Paul, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I did give a bit of an insight into what has been playing out since the APC won election in May 2023. But from your own point of view, what is this conflict really all about?
Yeah, thank you very much. If you really want to call it conflict, yes, I will accept to the extent that you use conflict. But we have some little misunderstanding leading to suspension of a former chairman of our party and recently the induction or inauguration of an acting chairman. And I think that I appeared on the television precisely channeled to give some teeth to the little crisis and hiccups that we've experienced in APC chapter of Benue State. I agree largely with your analysis that yes, there was a heavy transformation from PDP to APC, and all the positions you told us that the APC won in Benue State are absolutely correct. Now, one may ask, what really is the problem for a party that has won this overwhelming majority? As you rightly pointed out, there could be some little misunderstanding between the leaders of this party in the state. But let it be made clear from the beginning that conventionally or constitutionally wise, the leader of the party in the state is the governor of the party. This is the position. And so variously and spuriously, the governor has been accused of high-handedness, non-consultation, and all sorts of name-calling. And we have tried to appear in several fora to explain our position. And indeed, I appeared and told Nigerians that due consultations in respect to appointments were done, and every other action that has been taken by the Federal administration has been a product of due consultation. What angers us is, or rather what I could feel that is a bane here, could be one person ascribing to himself as a leader of the party and consciously bringing strategies to dominate the polity. And then another person who is the chief executive of the state and by convention and constitution of the party is also the leader. Now, if these understandings continue, there are tendencies that you could have is in politics, some other person supporting the position of the governor and maybe some other person supporting the position of the SGF, as you rightly pointed out. Could it be that some persons are behind, subterraneously pushing for this crisis as it benefits them along the line? And then I'll move swiftly, having explained the circumstances that we found ourselves in, to explain the political imbroglio that we found ourselves in as to whether the former suspended chairman was actually suspended, was correctly suspended, and as to whether a new chairman has been inducted. Yes, a new chairman was yesterday inducted, having gotten a valid suspension from the ward of the chairman. As a result, and I want Nigerians to know this, the Iyaje ward, where the former suspended chairman comes from, is in his local government, has nothing to do with the state working committee or the national committee of the party or even the governor himself. To a large extent, the governor may have not been aware on the suspension of the former chairman. Largely, party is governed by the constitution as tiers. And so the tier of the ward is different even from the tier of the state. But that is where the suspended chairman comes from. And so if people are making no sort of a suspension and trying to input some things into it is rather unfortunate. How did the chairman come to be suspended? Well, please listen so that you understand the circumstances. There was a petition originated by the valid member of APC from Okpoku Ward who became a senatorial candidate in person of Dan Onje in the last election. And he found out some actions taken by the suspended chairman and labeled them as anti-party and brought sufficient evidence, including on the televisions, to tell Nigerians why he originated the petition. This was duly looked into. Probes were made, interviews were conducted, and his ward executive found him liable based on the accusation leveled by
all right, Mr. Biam, because we don't have the luxury of time, you've laid your quiet foundation, but some are seeing this as an immediate retaliation as to what happened before the by-election. There's a background to this story, and sometimes one will want to have a conversation about the governance of your party, but we are now consumed by the politics itself. Remember that Maurice Owo, who is believed to be loyal to the governor, well, some way, somehow, was not able to get the ticket to run for the election. And then eventually Mr. Tawase Peter Uche finally won that election. So some people are seeing this as a move by the governor or the people loyal to the governor to take charge of the party as much as possible. Do they have any basis for that position?
No, I don't think that is true. These are all speculations by very unknown persons. Now,
but is the governor, Mr. Biam, just to put this together. Now, we know these are allegations. So I'm talking about the Guma 1 state constituency. Yes, go ahead, please.
But the governor is the leader of the party, is the father of all. I don't think that the governor had a particular interest. Whoever that emerges as the leader of the party and became a candidate in his party has no fuse. What is the fuse about an election where people are competing to be nominated to be bearers of the party on the platform of your party? There's no fuse. The Mr. Uche won, and we took it like that. There was nothing wrong with it. We celebrated his winning and went to election with him. And as I speak with you, Mr. Semuchi in the same party has been returned elected. There's no fuse in our party in respect to the Guma 1 state constituency. All I can say here is that the governor mobilized people to go and help the APC candidate in Guma, and we returned victorious. That is the extent to which the leader of the party can administer the party from a distance. There is nothing emanating from the election that suggests that the suspension of Ageda is tied to it. I was giving you a background when you interjected, and I'm telling you again that the suspension is born out of a petition written by somebody who became a senatorial candidate in the last election. He went ground and found out that there were anti-party activities perpetrated by the suspended chairman and brought out evidence copied with a petition to his party. And this was done in accordance with the provision of the constitution of the party.
All right,
so it has nothing
Biam,
at any level to do with the with the governor.
All right, Mr. Biam, just maybe last question. Let me chip this in as quickly as possible. The truth is that there's controversy as far as this is concerned. There's conflict in the party because for every step of the way after the election, I really thought appointment, there were issues. State Assembly principal officers, there were issues. The Guma 1 state constituency that he said the governor eventually supported Mr. Peter, there were issues. And now this suspension and all of this. Is there ever going to be an end in sight soon so that we can talk about governance of your party, governance of the state?
Well,
because I have the facts.
Politics permits some misunderstanding occasionally. There's no way you can do politics without somebody having an interest at one point or the other. But there's always a collapsing point. We're also feeling no matter the issues, the governor and leaders of the party are capable of sitting on a round table to resolve the issues. But to the extent that you are telling me that there were issues in Guma 1 election, it is surprising to me. I wouldn't know where you gathered the information, but I'm telling you on a point of authority that the governor, who is the leader of the party in the state, wanted his party to win in the by-election. And indeed, by the grace of God, the candidate of APC in that election was returned elected.
Okay, Mr. Paul Biam. Mr. Paul Biam, my apologies. The luxury of time we don't have, but I was talking about Mr. Maurice Owo, who we believe is in one camp, who was maybe the favorite at the beginning, but we don't have the luxury of time.
I'm talking to you as chief of staff and a former secretary of this party in the state before becoming chair. I'm telling you on a point of authority that the governor had no vested interest period to this election.
All right, that's a good place. That's a good place to just land the thought. Thank you so much, Mr. Paul Biam, chief of staff to Governor Hyacinth Elia, for coming on the program. We hope that very soon we'll start talking about governance of Benue State.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Absolutely. Let's move on now to other stories. The Federal High Court in Lagos has on Wednesday ordered the federal government to fix the prices of goods and petroleum products within 7 days. That's from February the 7th. Justice Ambrose Lewis Alagwa granted the order sequel to originating motion filed and argued by the applicant and senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Femi Falana. A senior advocate of Nigeria had dragged the Price Control Board and the Attorney General of the Federation to determine whether by virtue of Section 4, Subsection 1 of the Price Control Act, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, the first defendant is carrying out its duty to impose price on any goods that are of any kind or the kind specified in the first schedule to the Price Control Act. In an affidavit in support of the summons, the defendant, or the deponent rather, noted that the commodities are listed in the Price Control Act. After listening to the senior advocate of Nigeria, Justice Louis Alagua granted the prayer sought and ordered the government to fix the prices of goods and petroleum products. Now, just days after many residents of Minna, the Niger state capital, trooped out to protest high cost of living in the country, some residents of neighboring Suleja, also in the state, have staged a protest over the same matter. The protest in Suleja, which is only just a few kilometers away from the federal capital territory, is coming after the police in Niger State said they had arrested 25 persons who led the protest in Minna on Monday. The protesters were said to have staged the action at the popular Morocco Road, where the biggest market is located in the town, bearing inscriptions. A similar protest also held in Lokoja as traders took to the streets over incessant high cost of essential commodities across the state. The protest, which was organized by the market women and men, saw makers in hundreds protesting vehemently over the high cost of food items. Excuse me. A trader who identified herself as Mrs. Ladi said most of the traders in Lokoja have closed their shops, saying buyers no longer patronize them due to high prices. The president yesterday directed that a food intervention should be provided by the federal government to check the shortage of food in the country. And to other stories, following the conclusion of the rerun and by-elections, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has presented certificate of return to senators and House of Reps members who emerged victorious in the poll on February the 3rd. The certificates were presented by the National Commissioners representing the state or region where each senator or House of Assembly member is represented. INEC had conducted the elections in 80 local government areas across 26 states last Saturday to fill vacancies in the 3 senatorial districts, 17 federal and 28 state constituencies occasioned by resignation, death, or order of the court. Yeah, and those are just that last slide you saw is just slides of the political parties that won in February the 3rd election. So yes, those are the parties that won after that February 3rd election. And that's it on the program. Thank you so much for your time, and of course your usual company. We'll be back again tomorrow for yet another conversation in the polity. I'm Jeffrey Uzama. You've been served on Lunchtime Politics.